Good evening, my Real News Midday TV family. Welcome back to the channel for another news update. And in the news this evening, suspect in threat against the Prime Minister at the Clarendon residence is mentally challenged, says police. A 20-year-old mental health patient has been identified as a suspect as investigations continue into threats made against the Prime Minister and Holness, his wife, and the residents of Clarendon. The man is currently under police guard at a hospital in Manchester, a police source told the news. The man is under investigation after a recording went viral on social media in which the threats were made following the mass shooting in Cherry Tree Lane, Clarendon on Sunday. The police source said the suspect has a history of making threats on social media. He has a history of making similar threats, but he has a mental situation. He made threats years ago that affected even a school in the United States, the source said. History shows that he has the propensity of doing something like this, added the source. It is understood that police in 2022 questioned the suspect after he made a threat on the eve of the start of the academic year. Motorcyclist killed in collision in Clarendon. A motorcyclist died as a result of injuries he received following a collision on the Palmer's Cross Main Road in Clarendon on Thursday. The deceased has been identified as Anthony Hamilton, a 30-year-old construction worker from Rulespen, Palmer's Cross in the parish. According to the police, about 3 p.m., a white Nissan 80 wagon was traveling towards the Bustamante Highway when, on reaching a section of the roadway in the vicinity of Queen's Plaza, the driver made a right turn into the path of the motorcyclist, causing the collision. Hamilton was taken to hospital where he was pronounced dead. Sergeant Robert Richards, sub-officer in charge of traffic for the parish, appealed to motorists to use the road with care. Use your indicator and drive within the prescribed speed limit to avoid accidents. We're also appealing to motorcyclists to wear their protective gear. Helmets do save lives. And we are asking motorcyclists coming onto the road to ensure your motorcycle is roadworthy with proper documentation so you can stop when the police request a stop, so that you don't have to be moving speedily along the road to minimize any risk of collision, Richards said. 4 people injured in 2-vehicle crash in St. Anne. 4 people, including an American, are receiving treatment for serious injuries following a 2-vehicle collision along the Miami Bay roundabout in St. Anne on Thursday. Police reports say about 5 p.m., a white Toyota Hiace vehicle with 3 occupants, including the foreigner, was traveling towards the Rai Hotel from Ocho Rios. The vehicle was in the roundabout heading west when a blue Hyundai motor truck with a sole occupant, which was traveling from the Edward Seaga Highway, also heading west, failed to stop. It's reported the Hyundai truck collided with the right rear section of the Toyota. The collision resulted in both vehicles veering off the left edge of the road, where they came to rest in a ditch. The occupants of both vehicles were taken to hospital for treatment. Magnitude 5.3 earthquake rattles Jamaica. A magnitude 5.3 earthquake was felt in Jamaica about 8:01 Friday morning. According to the earthquake unit, the epicenter was located approximately 6 kilometers northeast of Golden Spring, St. Andrew. People all across the island have reported feeling the quake, with vendors in the Brownstone Market in St. Anne temporarily abandoning their stalls during the shaking. This is the second quake registered in Jamaica so far this week. On Monday afternoon, a minor earthquake of magnitude 2.9 was felt in Mavis Bank, St. Andrew at 3:51. Meanwhile, on Tuesday, several Caribbean countries, including St. Vincent and the Grenadines, St. Lucia, and the people in the Barbados capital, were impacted by a 4.2 magnitude quake. This followed one with a magnitude of 3.5 2 days earlier, which rattled Dominica, St. Lucia, and Martinique. Chairman of the Scientific Research Council, Dr. Paris Lee Ayi Jr., has moved to reassure the public that there is no need to panic over the frequency of tremors across the Caribbean.
Yeah, I mean, you can't predict an earthquake. No way you can predict an earthquake. Earthquake can happen anytime. But the thing is, this isn't bad. You want these small little jolts rather than the pressure building up and you have a big one. Right? So it's not. We should be grateful for having these small ones, not having a big massive thing.
8 suspected of contracted killing in Portland to face ID parades. 8 men suspected to be involved in the contracted killing of a man in Portland last week are to face a series of identification parades. The men, who are all from the 100 Lane community of Red Hills Road in St. Andrew, are accused of the murder of Orlando Luden, otherwise called the Sprague, in Ferry Hill, Portland. Mr. Luden was gunned down in his community last Wednesday by a group of men. Shortly after, 3 vehicles transporting the suspected killers were intercepted by the Portland police. 2 illegal guns believed to be the murder weapons were seized in one of the vehicles. Investigators have described the murder of Mr. Luden as a contract killing. Opposition says government lagging behind in passing laws to combat crime. The parliamentary opposition has expressed disappointment that the government has failed to include legislation as part of measures to combat crime and violence. Opposition spokesman on national security, Peter Bunting, pointed out that the Enhanced Security Measure Act, touted by the government as a part of its crime-fighting strategy, has not materialized. He was responding to the declaration of a state of public emergency in Clarendon on the heels of Sunday's mass shooting at a Cherry Tree Lane in the parish. Senator Bunting says the government is lagging behind in passing laws to target criminals.
From 2019, we have heard of this enhanced security measures, a particular piece of legislation that really was supposed to be more targeted than the states of emergency and would address this type of situation. A couple of years ago, the opposition leader actually himself drafted a framework where the sort of pre-charge detention that you could target at these particular gangs or members of the gangs could operate or be supervised by the court. We've heard nothing further from the government for these 5 years.
Stand Up for Jamaica backs construction of maximum security prison. Executive Director of Stand Up for Jamaica, Carla Golota, is expressing support for the construction of a maximum security prison. She was responding to an announcement by Prime Minister Andrew Holness on Wednesday that the plans were in the pipeline for a new high-security prison. He was responding to a question from the media in relation to information that the people behind the bars were among the masterminds behind Sunday's gun attack at the Cherry Tree Lane, Clarendon, which left 8 people dead and others wounded. Ms. Golota said there are other factors, such as overcrowding, that should be considered in support of a new maximum security facility. Citing the Tower Street Adult Correctional Center, she noted that the facility was built for 800 inmates, but now has 1,700 or more.
Because if you look at the numbers, that explain you the reason why a new prison is needed. I'm talking about overcrowding. Let me give you a couple of numbers. The Tower Street General Penitentiary, it was built for 800 inmates. Actually, there are 1,700 and more. That means that people there do not have not even the space to lie down in a cell. I think people don't have sympathy for people which are in conflict with the law. But there are some minimum standards which should be respected. So when you have an infrastructure like this, let me say straight, one of the main key of rehabilitation is education. So we have schools and we partner with DCS to provide teachers, books, etc. But the infrastructure can contain maximum 200 people in a population of 1,700. So what happened to the other 1,500? They're not allowed, even if they wish to try to become more. So a new prison should be the possibility for a different approach to those which are incarcerated.
Thank you everyone for watching. See you tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. for another news update.